You guys were right once again. You guys were right once again. And the more I look at these stats that are being highlighted by ESPN and national media, the more I realize that they are excluding Caitlin Clark and erasing her from history once again.
Well, Olivia, you are making history in the WNBA, not just for a rookie, but for any player. The fastest to 300 points, 100 rebounds, 100 assists.
The fastest to 300 points, 100 rebounds, 100 assists. Wow, this is my first time hearing that, actually. So Holly didn't even say it was just for rookies. She said it was for all time. Oh my goodness. They're kind of erasing Caitlin Clark from history to prop up others. They tried it with Paige, Angel Reese, now Olivia Miles. It doesn't make any sense to me. You know what they say, not providing full context is just as good as lying. So, but I'm just here to let you guys know that it's definitely an agenda going on right in front of our face.
Hello everyone, and welcome back to the Clark Update. I hope you're all having an amazing day. Today, I've got another exciting and highly interesting video for you, and if you're a true Caitlin Clark fan, you're definitely going to want to watch this one until the very end. Before we get started, let me know you're part of the Clark Update army by commenting CC 100% below. I love seeing all the amazing Clark fans in the comments. Now, without wasting any more time, let's jump straight to apprehended rather than charged or suspected. Caught using dates, receipts, and truthful side-by-side numbers. We will now go over each and every aspect of this because there is a pattern in what ESPN Insights did to Caitlin Clark's statistical record. Additionally, patterns have purpose. Come on. ESPN Insights published 4 different fastest player visuals about Olivia Miles between June 29th and July 22nd. Miles was crowned the record holder with 4 graphics in less than 4 weeks.
I apologize for not looking into this sooner. There are 2 standards being applied to Caitlin Clark's rookie season and Olivia Miles' rookie season. Olivia Miles' rookie season versus WNBA.
This is what ought to drive each and every one of you insane. Each and every one of those images employed a distinct statistical cutoff. Fundamentally distinct, not just marginally different.
Gentlemen, you guys remember last time when Holly Rowe and Olivia Miles, the last time they got in front of a microphone, and Holly Rowe said Olivia Miles was the fastest to 300 points, 100 rebounds, 100 assists, and we debunked that, and we found that to be false.
Every time, the goalposts were completely rebuilt rather than simply repositioned. Consider the appearance of actual statistics tracking. Whether or not the numbers support their desired story, a reputable publication chooses a category and sticks with it game after game, season after season. That's the work. Instead, ESPN Insights chose a new category each time the previous one failed to yield the desired result.
Or digging with the facts that ESPN are posting on social media, talking about after games, about Olivia Miles' stat lines, and I started to realize that they were excluding Caitlin Clark from history. This is insane what's happening, and it's going unaddressed by national media, the sports industry. I don't know how much longer this can continue before someone's
keeping track of a record. That's going shopping. The specifics are crucial, so let's dissect it piece by piece. Olivia Miles is the fastest player to accomplish 350 points and 100 assists, according to a graphic released by ESPN on June 29th.
Fastest player to 350 plus points and 100 assists, passing Paige Beckers and Caitlin Clark. Now I said, you know what? Let me do some research into this as well, because if that stat was wrong on national TV, what else could be wrong at their time?
See what's lacking? Rebounds. Olivia Miles had 91 rebounds while Caitlin Clark had 104 during the same number of games. That bar is cleared by Clark. Miles doesn't. Rebounds are therefore completely removed from the category. They required a set of statistics in which Clark had no advantage. They discovered one as a result. It was constructed to
So I realized something. I said, 350 plus points and 100 assists is interesting. But when we looked at the first one, Holly Rose said, one more time, rebounds was included. One more time, Holly.
Any player, the fastest to 300 points, 100 rebounds, 100 assists.
300 points, 100 rebounds, 100 assists. But when you look at this stat line right here, it says 350 plus points and only 100 assists. What happens to 300 points, 100 rebounds, 100 assists? Why are we now looking at 350 points and we can't even find a rebound?
While we're here, take note of something else. Why not 150 assists to meet the magic amount of 350 points? because Miles was also far from that.
Once again, as you can see on your screen, they propped up and they increased the threshold to 350 to exclude Caitlin Clark from this one. And then they dropped rebounds entirely. Why? Because Caitlin Clark has 104 and she's eligible for that award when Olivia Miles has yet to crack 100 at this point.
The threshold never shifts in a way that puts the story to the test. It only ever shifts in a way that safeguards it. The updated design was released on July 13th, 2 weeks later. The requirements are 400 points, 100 rebounds, and 100 assists this time. Rebound.
Again, on July 13th, ESPN Insights posted Olivia Miles has reached 400 points in her rookie season. Miles is now the fastest player in WNBA history to reach 400 points, 100 rebounds, and 100 assists. So just like that, ladies and gentlemen, rebounds is right back into the equation.
Do you know why? Because Miles had surpassed 100 rebounds by July 13th. The barrier is returned into the category since it was removed.
We're going to exclude rebounds when it benefits Olivia Miles, and we're going to include rebounds when it benefits.
Post number 3, July 22nd. 500
guys, because it doesn't stop there. Once again, Olivia Miles is the fastest person and the fastest player in WNBA history to reach 500 points, 150 assists, excluding rebounds once again, doing it in just 26 games. This is very interesting to me. Why? It's very interesting because yes, the points is now looking consistent, right? We're keeping it at the 100, but guess what? Now they want to all of a sudden increase the threshold to 150 assists. All of a sudden now, July 22nd, they want to increase the threshold to 150 assists in just 26 games. And guess who they include in this record? She breaks the previous mark set by Paige Becker's 28 games and Caitlin Clark 29 games. That's how
across all of these checkpoints. Let's now discuss the checkpoints that ESPN actually used to create these visuals. Miles scored 356 points in 19 games compared to Clark's 308. However, Clark led 128 assists to 109 and 104 rebounds to 91. Miles had scored 393 points, pulled down 101 rebounds, and dished out 118 assists in 21 games. Clark had already amassed more than 300 points, 119 rebounds, and 149 assists. Clark has scored more than 400 points in 24 games while pulling down 142 rebounds and dishing out 188 assists. Miles had just 112 rebounds and 141 assists, despite his 458 points. Miles finished with 490 points, 120 rebounds, and 149 assists in 25 games. Despite having 421 points, Clark was still in the lead in both important categories: 194 assists and 145 rebounds. Every checkpoint tells the same tale. Clark leads in both assists and rebounds. Additionally, ESPN altered the category each time.
That's exactly what I mean by they pedestalize Olivia Miles and they, cherry pick her stats in ways so they can say she passed Caitlin Clark, etc., etc. When you can clearly see, not only is Caitlin Clark generating more points than Olivia Miles, but
Let me now introduce something that ought to put a stop to the argument completely. During an ESPN broadcast, Holly Rowe said that Olivia Miles had reached 300 points, 100 rebounds, and 100 assists. She framed the accomplishment as not just for a rookie, any player. This implied that Miles had set an all-time WNBA record. However, Caitlin Clark already had that record. A declaration made by ESPN's on-air broadcaster on the network's own platform unintentionally indicates that Clark was—
compare it. Let's be fair. In just 26 games, it clearly looks like Caitlin Clark is not only generating more points, but she has way more rebounds, way more assists. And let's not forget, Caitlin Clark is on her way to the post-Olympic break. You know what they say, not providing full context is just
the process of attempting to crown Miles. They unintentionally demonstrated Clark's superiority. This is the coldest piece of evidence in the whole narrative. With 490 points and 149 assists at Miles' 25th game, she was just 1 point and 1 assist shy from the 5 and 150 mark that ESPN had already hinted at. ESPN did not post anything when she was standing on the doorstep. Since 490 and 149 are not 500 and 150 and the threshold had to be real enough to be defendable in the event of a challenge, there could be no celebration, milestone, or visual. They waited, And the quiet is evidence that someone was keeping tabs on the numbers and determining the precise
about it though, right? There was nothing to say. 149 assists for Miles. They would have excluded rebounds. Oh yeah, that as well. They would have excluded the rebounds as well and said Olivia Miles passed Caitlin Clark again. There's volume in the silence, guys. I want you guys to understand that. For every graphic that's not posted after an Olivia Miles game, you can almost guarantee that means Caitlin Clark still holds that record. Or if Caitlin does hold the record, they're going to try to tweak it, cherry pick it, or exclude something else so they can go ahead and prop.
Clark scored the same points in games 19, 21, 24, and 25, numbers that, if they had belonged to anyone else, would have resulted in extensive coverage. ESPN Insights remained silent. They determined that her prior production wasn't worth a single post using the same data and game logs. After that, they turned around and spent 4 weeks creating 4 different designs for a different client. The entire narrative revolves around that contrast. Furthermore, this is not an isolated incident. This player was ranked 9th in the league last year and 11th this season by her peers, despite being the league's top guard in several statistical categories. Therefore, the locker rooms are subtly voting her out of the top 10 while the graphics department silently rebuilds thresholds to keep her out of the record books. The same design in different rooms. It goes beyond the stat sheet, too. Additionally, she has a tendency to be physically guarded on the floor, which has been regularly noted in relation to foul calls.
Biggest of them all, the way Olivia Miles is guarded versus how Caitlin Clark was guarded. Caitlin Clark accounted for, I think, 70% of all flagrant fouls committed during the 2024 season, and 80% of those flagrant fouls were committed on Caitlin Clark by the Chicago Sky, the rival team, against Angel Reese Kennedy Carter.
Here, some of the figures that are being discussed haven't been officially verified, so please take that into consideration. Not the gospel. However, it presents the same image from a different perspective when combined with all that ESPN's graphics department has accomplished. There is no respect. Not in the way she's covered on television. Not in the way her peers perceive her. Not in the way she is guarded on the court. I want to be crystal clear about something. Olivia Miles is not the subject of this. She earned what she earned on the court and is a true player having a great season. The problem is that Olivia Miles may not even be aware that she is being utilized as a vehicle to carry out Caitlin Clark's statistical rubber. In this tale, Miles is not the antagonist. The antagonist in this tale is ESPN Insights. Additionally, it matters because these graphics are believed by casual followers. Those who do not keep track of box scores. Those who, in between scrolling, catch a stat card and a highlight reel. Observe a social media post and take it at face value. Now, those individuals are going about thinking Olivia Miles had records that were actually set by Caitlin Clark. By putting their trust in it, they are not acting improperly. That's the entire issue. Most individuals have no reason to fact-check anything posted on a platform with ESPN's reach. Here, that confidence is precisely being abused. ESPN is rewriting history that doesn't need to be rewritten because they have the authority and reach to create the first draft. Caitlin Clark's inadequacy does not pose a threat to her legacy. It is in danger because those in charge of women's basketball's information infrastructure decided they would prefer to present a different narrative, and they were prepared to publicly and routinely alter the statistics to do so. They were exposed by their carelessness. We would not have noticed if they had chosen a single threshold and kept with it, but they changed it 4 times in less than 4 weeks, and now we have the receipts. Consider all of the milestone celebrations and quickest posts that ESPN's Insights account has ever published. How many of those had a threshold designed to match and a predetermined winner? We are unable to view ESPN's statistical coverage of this league in the same manner. They have demonstrated the fraudulent methodology to us. When a fan base pays enough attention to notice it, responsibility looks like this. And you caught it with this fan base, the folks that are currently watching this. You completed the side-by-side. You kept tabs on the number of games. You took screenshots of the posts. This was not going to be picked up by the conventional sports media. Spreadsheets and receipts were used by regular fans. The records of Caitlin Clark are authentic. No amount of threshold shuffling by a graphics department can alter her actual performance on that court. Her scores at games 19, 21, 24, and 25 are recorded and confirmed. The box scores are accurate. Her actions are irreversible. It's clear what they did. We won't allow them to ignore the ruling. You're at the proper place if you've been observing something develop and no one in your social circle understands. We can see what the cameras don't show and say what the commentators won't on courtside leaks. You'll want to be the first to know when the next tale is out, so subscribe and enable notifications.